Hey everyone, welcome to the Red Porcupine podcast. My name is Rochelle Steyn. I'm very excited to start the Heliacal Rising Star Series. Today we are looking at Alcyone, the star in the mysterious Pleiades cluster on the shoulder of the constellation of Taurus. Today, 24th of May 2023, is the Heliacal Rising date for Alcyone, and we're going to explore Alcyone and consciousness a little deeper. I'm reading from Bernadette Brady's August 2005 article, The Stars, the Horizon and the Sun, the unique relationship that stars have to place. Did you know that, ignoring the slow effect of precession, a star will always rise over the same place in the landscape every single day of the year? As well, for any given calendar date, the star will not only rise in the same place, but will also rise at the same time of the day. And that is absolutely fascinating. I just want to read here. The Heliacal Rising Star was the star considered by the Egyptians to rise in the fiery boat of the sun god Ra, and thus it was considered that this star ruled the calendar days for a specific place until the next star took over the seat in the boat of the sun. To ride the chariot of fire, a star had to do two things. It needed to rise just before the sun, and it needed to do this as it completed its journey of death, its setting with the sun, its journey of death into rebirth. Here we see the star visible at night. We see the setting of the star with the sun, and then the rising of the star with the sun. It is important to realize that the Heliacal Rising Star is not just any star rising before the sun. It must be a star rising before the sun which has not been visible for a period of time, a star which has just completed its journey through the underworld. Any other star rising before the sun is called a morning rising star and is not the focus of attention. The place in which a person is born is flavored by the star-sun horizon line relationship. The Heliacal Rising Star contributes to the quality of the place and is, Bernadette Brady believes, a significant background endowment to your natal chart. It is part of the soil into which this chart is seeded. And because it is a star emerging from the underworld and becoming a god, its gifts or endowment to your chart are not concerned with the daily chatter of a busy life, but rather are focused into the realm of one's soul, one's spiritual pathway. For this star and its ancient myths provide one with a deep sense of one's inherent nature, one's inherent gifts, or deep-seated ancestral issues that are pushing or pulling one through life. The star has journeyed through the underworld and is now emerging into the light, not as tabula rasa, blank and empty, awaiting your life to imprint it, but instead ready for you to reach into its myths, to gain insight into your feelings of personal life mission and personal abilities and gifts you have within you that you can use to complete your mission. The city rhythm, the rhythm of your place, of the place that you live, is informed by the series of Heliacal Rising Stars, the rhythm inherent in the symbolism of these Heliacal Rising Stars for a specific place. This is from Bernadette Brady, November 2005, The Rhythm of a City, using a parapegma in the 21st century. Our experience is that places and regions do have an inherent quality some of which may come from its history and some of which may well come from the actual spirit of the place. However, some of the inherent quality of a location, Brady believes, comes from a location's relationship with the sky, the whole sky. And what she says is, for the stars, unlike the wandering planets, do not change their relationship to each other, nor, if we ignore precession, do they change the actual place in which they rise and set. On the line of the horizon, and they will always rise before dawn for the same calendar date from one year to the next. And so she talks about the pulse, the rhythm of New York, and she lists the Heliacal Rising Stars for New York. And so what I have done is I've done a similar thing. Okay, so for Cape Town, and it's exactly the same as Montagu, I checked, working from the parapegma for a specific place, it will show the Heliacal Rising Stars. That's how I created this chart. And so basically for Cape Town has a specific rhythm that's defined by the series of Heliacal Rising Stars. It starts off New Year, Alpaca, Ras Algeti. So what we're going to be focusing on today is Alcyone. So you can see Wednesday the 24th of May is when Alcyone rises. It rises with the sun, so it's in the beams of the sun, so it's not visible. It will be visible on the 8th of June, and I'm going to record that for us as well. So it's in that dip there. That was my very first experience of watching a heliacal rising of a star other than our sun. I've had the privilege over the last couple of years, through meeting Dean Laprini, who's an archaeoastronomer, to be taken to the most beautiful sacred sites and watch every equinox and every solstice the sun rising at exactly the same place and hitting these rock formations, these sacred places, in the most spectacular way. But this is the first time I have watched and experienced, even though I couldn't see Alcyone, at least I had a sense, I could imagine it. And it was an absolutely beautiful morning, being immersed in the symbolism of the heliacal rising of Alcyone, and just kind of circling around all the symbolism at play. And we're going to explore that now. So what does this actually mean? Consciousness or soul is all about identity, blood, ancestral lineage, and soul karmic lineage, and legacy or our purpose, how we show our respect for life through our contribution, giving back. The unchanging stars, our sun being our central star, symbolizes for me the mystery of that unchanging, enduring part of us, that place we go to in meditation, beyond space and time, expansive spaciousness, the eternal realm. In the wisdom traditions, we believe we incarnate on earth to evolve our consciousness in order to realize a greater truth and to inform our life according to this truth. For me, a practice of observing the whole skies, the entire sky dome, not just the ecliptic, is like a practice of meditation. What happens in the skies is beyond our control. We can just choose to participate in the mystery, but this participation requires acceptance and surrender. The Heliacal Rising Star knowledge reminds me of the lunar and planetary nodes, which symbolize in evolutionary astrology the continuity of identity, soul, consciousness across lifetimes, where we are coming from and where we are going to, the eternal cycle of death and rebirth to serve the evolution of consciousness or soul. We come to know that eternal part of ourselves, our identity and legacy, through our active participation and experience in the mystery. This is the work of consciousness. How do we participate in the mystery through the practice and symbolism of the heliacal rising of the stars, and specifically our focus today on Alcyone? So basically this is the part of the equatorial grid, and this pink line is the ecliptic, and this green line is the horizon line. So you can see here we've got the sun, and there is Alcyone on the horizon at sunrise. And here we can see the very familiar shape, stick figure, of the constellation of Taurus. And the most famous star in the constellation of Taurus is Aldebaran, which is the eye of the bull. So let's start by looking at Alcyone's heliacal rise in the context of the place, which is Cape Town or Montagu. We can see that on the 2nd of May, Hamal in the constellation of Aries was the heliacal rising star. And the quality of that time period, based on the star's symbolism, which I got from starlight, is a time of action, independence, and following one's own path. And now we have Alcyone seeing with different eyes and seeking inner knowledge, insight, and understanding. So this star description, just modified a little bit from starlight. This star seeks the inner eye, the third eye. There is a very strong desire to seek inner knowledge. Alcyone is a strong, powerful star indicating visions and mystical abilities. There will be a sense of vision or insight, but there is also a caution against making rash judgments or being narrow-minded to the point of becoming blind to the obvious. There is the potential for real insight and understanding, but caution against using this to make harsh judgments. Just in the bigger context, before Alcyone we always have Hamal, and after Alcyone, on the 31st of May, is Algol's heliacal star rise. And this is for Cape Town and surrounds. It's about a 2-hour radius around Cape Town. Alcyone is part of the pulse or the rhythm of Cape Town. If you have Alcyone as your heliacal rising star, or if you have Alcyone in Paran or in relationship to one of your planets or luminaries, the volume on Alcyone will be turned up for you and possibly channeled into a very specific area of your life. If you watched episode 1 of the Red Porcupine podcast, you'd be familiar with the term live player and the research that I'm doing. Live players can do things that have never been done before. They radically transform our socio-cultural, economic, and political reality. So I do have information on the live players, and none of the live players have Alcyone as a heliacal rising star. But if we look at Alcyone, we've got Elon Musk, who has Alcyone rising with his Saturn and Neptune. We also have Vladimir Putin, who has Alcyone rising in Paran with Mercury, and Garry Kasparov, Alcyone with Venus. I also have Alcyone in Paran with my Venus. So let's have a look at a couple of these. This is what Starlight says about Elon Musk and his Alcyone in Paran with Saturn. The desire to reshape the theological or political ideas of others. So this star seeks the inner eye, the third eye. This is a very strong desire to seek inner knowledge. Alcyone is also linked to the fates and the judgment of the dead. This can manifest in an individual's life as ruthlessness when dealing with those who have not met certain standards. Thus, Alcyone is a strong, powerful star indicating visions and mystical abilities, but also a potential for ruthlessness or judgmental anger. Alcyone in Paran with Saturn takes the visionary, mystical, and judgmental energy of Alcyone and combines this with Saturn's desire to implement all ideas into practice. If active in your youth, you would have been taught the importance of living your life by a set of rules or principles. You may have rebelled against these as you grew older, but they are still part of your early socio-educational fabric. So if Alcyone is in Paran with your Saturn in your adult years, then you will spend your life endeavoring to put your ideas, beliefs, or visions into a satisfying shape or form. To build something, whether a group of people or some kind of structure that makes your insights concrete. So that's very beautiful. And it also speaks to your unscripted silver zone. Let's take a look at Garry Kasparov. He's got Alcyone in Paran with his Venus, a love of theatre or the rituals of religion, the poetic soul. This star seeks the inner eye, the third eye. Alcyone in Paran to your Venus will influence your social conscience, your responses in relationships, and your enjoyment of sensual and sexual pleasures. Alcyone's mysticism blends with Venus to give the magic of ritual. If active in your youth, then you grew up with a love of ritual, whether in religion or theatre. In your adult years, the star may influence your career or lifestyle, making the beat of ritual or the creation of magic part of the fabric of your daily life. This is a poetic soul that will look for a life with mystical or magical meaning. So that's really beautiful. Alcyone in Paran with Venus. And yeah, I can certainly resonate with that as well. And it gives me a really interesting insight into Garry Kasparov, one that we don't really get to see today. Dead players means, according to Sama Buria, these are not live. None of them have a heliacal rising star. But if we look here, Bill Gates has Alcyone with Venus, which is very interesting. Jack Dorsey has Alcyone with Mars. Joe Biden has Alcyone with Mercury and Alcyone with the Sun. Mark Zuckerberg, also like Joe Biden, Alcyone with Sun, and Vitalik Buterin, Alcyone with Neptune, as well as Julian Assange. So let's take a look at Joe Biden. Okay, Alcyone, the ruthless with Sun, in Paran with Sun, the ruthless visionary, a passionate and arrogant person. The star is in the phase of curtail passage and is therefore to be read in the extremes of meaning rather than a more balanced expression. With Alcyone in Paran with your Sun, you are seen as a person who is a visionary, someone who has insight and possibly can even see the future, the prophet. If Alcyone is active in your youth, then this inner vision would be apparent either in yourself or in authority figures around you. However, such figures in your life may also be dogmatic, narrow-minded, or judgmental, dismissing other people's beliefs or ideas as simply irrelevance. There is an arrogance of knowledge with Alcyone, and this can cause difficulties with others. If the star is active in your adult years, then you will be seen as a person who has such visions and insights. This ability may be evident in your career or chosen life path, but you will also be seen as a person who can be arrogant, harsh in your judgments of others, and even ruthless in the application of your ideas. By learning to consider others and the consequences of your action, you can have the insights of Alcyone while minimizing the difficulties. So that also gives us a really interesting application of the symbolism in relationship to the sun. Let's look at Mercury. Insightful and brilliant, but struggling with the darker side of human nature. And for Joe Biden, he once again has the curtail passage. The way this manifests in his life is more in the extremes of its meaning. Alcyone in a plan to your Mercury influences how you think and talk, what interests you, and how you learn. Mercury is also the god of business, contracts, and paperwork, so all of these areas will be influenced by Alcyone. If active in your youth, then you'll have inherited strong views and opinions from your parents. These may lead to great insight or, in a worst-case scenario, to bigotry. If active in your adult years, then you may have great insights into business dealings, or you may find that you are a persuasive orator. Whatever its expression, this star's connection with your Mercury shows a visionary thinker. But always with Alcyone, there's a potential for intellectual arrogance, and you'll find yourself fighting this in yourself or in others. Vladimir Putin also had Alcyone Mercury. So only 3 of the live players had Alcyone touch points, but quite a few of the dead players or non-live players, 6 basically. So that's really interesting. I'm excited about the star rhythms and mythology and consciously embodying this knowledge through a regular practice of observation of the stars. I'd love to hear about your experience of Alcyone. What have I missed? What needs to be shared? If you've appreciated this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel and share it with people who you know will appreciate it or enjoy it. And I hope you'll join me on the next Heliacal Rising Series podcast when we're going to talk about Algol.